Welcome. My name is Joellen. I am with firstediting.com. And welcome everyone to the Fiction Editing Essentials. It's the full editing journey. I'm Joellen. I'm from First Editing, and I'm thrilled to be your guide today. Writing a great novel, it takes incredible effort, but the work doesn't stop there. Editing is where your draft becomes a truly captivating story. So today, we'll unravel the secrets of editing to take your writing to the next level. And again, thank you for joining us. We look forward to walking you through this. Let's get rid of our technical problem and get started here. First, let's talk about how you can master self-editing techniques. So let's dive straight into that and see how you can do that. Again, self-editing is so important because the draft truly makes a captivating story, and you want to make sure that you get that all wrapped up. And the best way to do that is to learn the essentials of self-editing. So let's dive into the core of self-editing. And first, we want to keep right to the mindset. The mindset needs to be that self-editing is not about finding everything wrong. It's about improvement. It's about approaching your writing like an editor, and you want to use a constructive eye, not a critical one. You want to find out how to make it better. Secondly, you'd like to take a break. You want to put some distance between finishing your draft and starting your self-edit. So this is going to help you clean your mind out. It's going to help you work with a fresh perspective. So put your manuscript away for a couple of days or even weeks, whichever works, and then revisit it with a fresh eyes. And this is going to help you catch things that you missed before. Third, read aloud. You know, reading your book out loud allows you to hear the story. This forces you to slow down and spot the awkward phrasing, the clunky sentences, and overused words. And again, on the fourth part, I want to remind you to use a systematic approach. Don't just open the document and start. You need to focus on specific areas one at a time. So big picture issues, plot, character, dialogue, grammar, etc. If this is new to you, I recommend that you start with each scene. And you want to go through each scene, you want to name the scene, you want to give a purpose for each scene, you want to identify your point of view character and what their goal is. You want to look into the scene entry hook and exit hooks, how you're using those, the scene location, any opening and closing of each of those scenes, how strong they are. Look at your tension and or conflict with each of those. And after you've done that, all through that, you want to go to a plot checkup. Basically, look critically at your story arc. Are there pacing problems, unresolved threads, or any kind of inconsistencies? Make notes where it just feels wrong or weak, but don't worry about solving everything right now. You just need to locate where you need to help and mark it in there so you can come back to it. And when you're going through that, the next part is you want to check for the weaknesses. We all have them. There are common issues like overused words, too much telling versus showing, or weak dialogue. So be ruthless in identifying your problem areas and keep a watch list of all of your writing quirks. And, you know, are you overusing adverbs? Do you abuse commas? You need to identify your patterns so that you can learn to eliminate them. And again, editing is a learning process. And lastly, I'd like to mention the tools that you're using when you're self-editing. They're like ProWritingAid, Grammarly, even words track changes. These are very helpful for basic copy editing tweaks, but don't rely on them solely. It is essential to develop your own editing eye, and this will take time as you learn to self-edit. So the second part I want to talk to you about is knowing when and how to go pro, and that is working with a professional editor. So while self-editing is essential, there comes a time when you are at the end of your self-editing and you really need to reach out and go to the next level. Anytime before you share or publicly distribute your work, I recommend you have a professional look at it. So knowing when to go pro is basically when self-editing is essential. You're bringing in a professional editor and they're going to take your work to the next level. And how do you know when you're ready to do this? Well, there comes a point where you've done all you can on your own. And let's discuss when you want to outsource. First, when it's complex, big projects like winding plots and multiple point of views, they can just become overwhelming. And an editor brings professional structure and insight into this that they've gained from decades of experience. Secondly, if it's genre-specific expertise you need, does your science fiction novel need a fact checker or your romance an expert on emotional beats? Then you need to find a pro. Third, if you're going to go get a big picture feedback, so a professional developmental editor is going to provide you an objective view of your story's overall effectiveness. So get a professional editor when your self-editing reaches its limits. If you're endlessly circling around the same issues or unsure about how to fix what seems off, just get a fresh set of experienced eyes that can make a world of difference and help you there. They're basically coaching you. You also want to get a professional editor when you want an objective perspective. Editors aren't attached to your work, and they can pinpoint things that you might be overlooking. They're going to tell you what you're doing right, so you can learn to recreate that again and again. They're also going to show you your weaknesses so you can eliminate bad habits. And these editors, they are neutral, honest, and professional with their communication, which is helpful, especially if you're thinking about using friends or family. Don't. So get a professional editor also when you're aiming for traditional publication. So a professional can polish and increase your chances of getting noticed by agents and publishers. And in today's world, you need to be 100% ready before you approach a publishing house, and you need to be perfect if you self-publish as an indie author. So these are really, really essential as we go through that. And again, these are what we're going to talk about today. Our third section I'd like to talk about is discovering what you need. So again, knowing what you need to do with your editing and discovering the levels of editing that are available. So again, it's very, very important that you get a general idea. You don't have to understand it perfectly, but you do need to understand what the different levels of editing are and the different types of editors that are out there. So this means knowing what editing levels exist, and it's important to understand the different editing levels so that you can choose the right one at the right time in the editing process. So let's break down the different types of editing. First, we have developmental editing, and this addresses those big picture things. It does, like, does the plot make sense? Are your characters compelling and engaging to your readers? Developmental editors are going to focus on your plot, your character arc, pacing, etc., and they're going to give you an evaluation of your overall structure and presentation. So you work with the developmental editor early in the creative process to ensure a strong story foundation before you correct the language. So that's very, very important. The second one is going to be line editing. Editors finesse on the sentence level. They're basically ensuring your writing is clear, engaging, and it flows well technically. The line editors polish your language, your style, flow, and your overall sentence structure. They also evaluate your word choice, your clarity, your transitions, etc. And this is usually done after a developmental content edit, and adjustments are already in place. So your line editor is working with you during your revision stage of your language, your English. Third, we're looking at copy editing. Copy editors focus on the mechanics, grammar, spelling, punctuation, syntax, all those things. It's a kind of fine-tooth combing, and copy editors perform the final pass before formatting and proofing. After you've formatted it, you're going to go into proofreading. This is your fourth one, and last check for typos when everything else is done. The professional proofreader completes the final polish during a last-minute sweep to find any syntax or formatting errors, and it's the final catch-all before publication. So again, that brings us into our fourth session where we're going to look at demystifying the hiring process of editors. So as you're doing this, you really need to understand how to do this because it is, human resources. It is a process of finding the right editor and knowing what to look for. So not all editors are created equal. You want someone who understands your genre and knows how to connect with your writing style. And it's really finding the right editor is crucial. So here's how. First, you're going to ask for referrals. You're going to check with fellow writers, writing organizations. You're going to remember to ask only those people who have actually succeeded with editing and publishing that you can trust. So get the editor's recommendations and testimonials from their clients, meaning that they have a portfolio of success for you to lean on. Second, you're going to look at websites, marketplaces, or online freelance directories. You can search and then interview thousands of freelance editors online. You will need to find experienced editors, and then you need to ask about their editing process, their rates, and their freelance availability. So this also ensures that their style suits yours. You need to make sure all that works and it comes together. And remember, you want to find editors who specialize in your genre. Honestly, this method is exhausting and it can take months. And actually, that's why first editing exists, but we'll talk about that later. So third, ask about specializations. Some editors excel at genre-specific work, fantasy, romance, whatever it may be, and make sure they understand your book's needs. Again, you need to ensure that you have an editor who understands your book's needs and engages your desired audience in the manner in which those readers expect to be engaged. It's very important. Fourth, request a sample. Always assess the editor's work style and communication. Communication matters and it is a fine art. They will give you feedback in a way that you can use effectively. And you need to make sure that it works for you. Do they make the changes or do they just tell you to do it yourself? So getting a demonstration of their qualities and skills is essential. So ask for a free sample or sample. And this is how our clients choose us. It's via the free editing sample and an editorial evaluation of which level of editing you need. So it's really important there. Now, let's go on to the next section here, which is working effectively with the editors. After you've searched through all those places and you found the editor that works for you, then it's making sure that you set up a good professional working together. So working with an editor, you need to find the right editor. And it's important to making the most of your collaboration. You're going to pay for this, so make sure you get it right. So when you collaborate, focus on first sharing clear expectations. What editing level do you need? What's your goal and timeline for your book and launch? Secondly, remain open to feedback. I know it can sting, but their job is to make your work better. So take feedback as an opportunity to improve the work that you have and your writing. Don't take it as personal criticism. Take it for the value in which it's given. And three, we want to remember it's your story. So ultimately, you do have the final say. An editor is a guide. They're not the ruler of your manuscript. You can accept or reject their work. And fourthly, you want to keep the clear communication, which means understanding the importance of open dialogue. Ask questions, express concerns, clarify expectations early on so that they can do this work in a way that you need. And last, I want to remind you to respect the professionalism. Again, acknowledge the value of the editor's time and expertise, which you have carefully selected and invested in to make your book possible. So now I have time for any questions. I'm trying to keep this quick and easy for everyone today so that we know how to discuss and learn about the editing essentials of fiction. And if you would just write in your questions there, I'll be glad to answer them for you as they come in. So again, first question here is about the different levels of editing. Developmental editing is that high overarching big picture evaluation of your structure, of your message, of the story itself. This is a more of a coaching like experience where people are really working with you, or the editors are working with you, the developmental editors, the story coaches are helping you to create a strong form underlying the structure of your story, so that then once we know that it's engaging for your genre and particularly attractive to those there, that you can engage with them and move forward. After you have the developmental editing, or if you already get a strong story, a strong presentation, and it's in the right order, in the right manner, it doesn't need to be cut down or evaluated more, then often you might go in for content editing. And content editing is, on that level, but it's on a much higher, just connecting all the dots, making sure that the story reads well and that you're presenting it in many ways. So after you've got your content or your developmental edit, whichever it is, based upon what your editor recommends, then you can move on to the line editing, which again is exactly what it's talking about. It's a line edit. It's a structure of the paragraph, the line, making sure it flows from point to point to point, your transitions, your flow, your style, and many other things like that. The final edit is copy editing, and copy editing is what you have done when you expect to make no further revisions. Your expectation is, please check this, please validate and affirm that it is ready to go to formatting. So the copy editor is a totally different type of editor. They're looking at grammar, spelling, punctuation, typos, those kind of things to make sure that it all goes well before you upload it into the format for formatting your book. Now, quite often people refer to proofreading. Proofreading is not technically editing, but it is part of the process. And this is someone who's very important to you because they look at the draft, your ARC, after it's been formatted to make sure that nothing has been overlooked, of course, because we are talking humans here. And even if you're using AI, there's a lot of problems and things that still need to be worked out there. So nothing is perfect. And then they're also going to look at how the format or the layout may have been affected during the upload, meaning that there can be different types of formatting issues. You might lose a page, you might lose a sentence, you might have any graphics might lay over the different areas of the book or the text, and you want to make sure that those are resolved before it goes out there into the world and you see that you're having some kind of problems. So again, very important here. Let's look here. I'm going to take a look at the other. Any questions at all, please hand those in. So we do want to also, as we go back to the hiring process, somebody was asking here about how it works and why I mentioned the marketplace, the never-ending directories, the Upwork, the freelancers, the Fivers, the different areas like that, that you can go on and you can search. And there are a lot of people who put themselves up, especially after COVID, who have some writing experience, who have even some self-editing experience, maybe some editing for a friend or whatever, beta reading, very common. And then they decide that they can use this as a gig to get work. I want to make sure that you're looking for professionals who are trained in the English language, who have not only higher level academic training, but they have professional training, they have experience in the publishing world. So it's very difficult to find that. And a little insight to First Editing's background is that, when I wrote my first 2 books, we really searched around, how do we edit this? And it was a difficult process. And, this was even before, Amazon had taken off like crazy. So it was very hard to find somebody who could look at your book and evaluate it and give you the feedback, and then also you feel comfortable with. So what we've created here is an army or a team of professional editors who have publishing experience, who have editing experience, who have advanced training, who have all these qualifications and certifications in their background. And when your document comes in, you tell us your genre, you tell us any of the instructions, what you're looking for, any questions you have, and we will assign, according to different parameters, your book to the appropriate editor within Arsenal, and we back that up with a free, we have a satisfaction guarantee so that we know it's going to deliver on time, that it's going to be professional, and if there's anything wrong with it, we're going to stand behind it and make sure it works there. When you deal with other professionals, you may get extended delivery times, unfortunately, because you're dealing with people with real lives, and there are other things that can happen there. I've heard stories. It really is. So we're here. If you'd like to get a free sample, if you'd like to get an editorial evaluation, which means finding out which level of editing you need, simply send it to us and we'll be glad to help you do that. So again, today I wanted to keep it short and sweet. I appreciate you all coming here. If you have any questions, please send them to editors@firstediting.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel here where we'll have more live and fun webinars coming up. And if at any time you need us, please let us know. We will be emailing a link to the replay here. We appreciate your patience with the technical difficulties we had. And of course, we will also be sending out an email with the free checklist for your use before you launch. So again, thank you for joining us today. My name is Joellen. I'm with firstediting.com, and it's been my absolute pleasure to speak with you today.